And we're recording. This is the Kubernetes SIG Network meeting for September 20th, 2018. First up on the agenda is David with the discussion about the Windows CNI. David, you've got the floor.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Yeah, so first of all, thank you to all the container networking maintainers that joined the call. We've really tried hard for a while to add Windows CNI, add our own Windows CNI to the container networking plugins repo. So we're really excited about getting this merged. Thanks for reviewing this quickly. So following up from that, perhaps would be good to understand the next steps, as it was a pretty big PR, and we've tried to address all the major concerns in a timely manner, or as quickly as possible as we could. But if there are any outstanding gaps that are particularly urgent or that you would like to highlight, that would be great if we could go over that. I know we have 2 PRs that are scheduled to go out as well. I think Madan has joined the call as well, who's going to be one of the maintainers. Madan, do you know what the other 2 PRs are? You have them ready.
You mean the follow-up PRs?
Yeah, there's like a host gateway and the XLAN.
Yeah, so the follow-up PR for this would be to add some CI test for the plugins that we added. And we have some people working on it already. And that's the plan. I mean, we need to clean up the code some more. So that is listed in the PR already. These are the work items which we plan to do. Are there any other requests from the community for this?
So this is Dan Williams. I'm one of the CNI maintainers, also part of SIG Network. One of the questions I had about it was, how do we handle DNS? Because the CNI project tries to be somewhat agnostic, and originally the DNS stuff was kind of Kubernetes specific. So could you guys go over really quick what the setup is for DNS and why DNS and search domains are part of the CNI plugin on Windows?
So the DNS configuration today for Windows is programmed for every endpoint creation. It's not system-wide configuration. Because the internal design, if I have to pull the implementation of DNS, every time a container is created, it has its own process isolation and it has a bunch of registers. And one of the reasons for that is the DNS has to go inside the container registry. Only then the network stack can see that's. The problem for us was, say we create a pod and we created an infra pod and we set up DNS and everything comes up fine. And now the workload container that's going to start up and it's going to time or infra namespace, we need a way to replicate this registry inside the workload containers. And that's why we needed to get this information down to CNI, and then every time, I mean, that's the reason we had a workaround in Kubernetes to have this second CNI call for the local container, which is going to go away soon. But that will actually go and push this registry entries inside the workload container, inside the registry. So that was a requirement. And following that, we had to, every time an endpoint is created using CNI, so we send some information down to the platform, which is, and one of the information that we send is the DNS configuration. And that's why for us, it has to go through CNI. I mean, there is no other place we can program this container creation or something like it. It's not part of container. It's a network construct for us. So anything that's part of an endpoint creation or network creation for us has to go through CNI. and we'll program the relevant objects or registry or whatever it has to be done on the platform to get DNS config. So yeah.
Okay. I mean, one of the kind of cross points here between Kubernetes and the CNI stuff would be to figure out a slightly better way of pushing that information down from Kubernetes to the plugin.
Yes.
So maybe that's a general point for the group, how we can kind of improve and make the DNS bits in Kubelet be communicated better down to CNI.
Yes. So today we are using an approach of passing this DNS information as CNI capabilities, and we are trying to use the capabilities of CNI to program the custom DNS that's coming from PodSpec. That's the approach we are planning to use to solve this problem for now. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Sorry, this is Tim. It's unfortunate that it's different. I think I understand the difference. I probably couldn't replay it back, but thank you for explaining. I agree with Dan. We should be looking at how to find a gooder answer for this.
I agree.
One of the things that the original plugin had was that it had kind of a fairly hard-coded mechanism to add to the search path. And I'm thinking that due to all the different ways that DNS can be done for containers, or at least a number of the different schemes that you can do, we probably need a somewhat more flexible way of pushing that information down, something much more explicit than using the namespace and adding that on and hard-coding some of the other stuff.
Does this all work with the custom DNS policy stuff?
My impression is no, but I'll leave that to others to talk about.
That's where you can give a custom Etsy resolve.conf.
Yeah, you can say, don't put things in my search path, or
right.
Don't, whatever. You
use
can,
this dots.
exactly.
Yeah.
The escape hatch.
Right. So it sounds like this CNI plugin would have to program all that functionality that right now is.
That's right.
Kubelet doing,
That was my interpretation too.
Yeah.
And the reason I ask this is because there's a large emphasis being placed from SIG architecture on conformance tests, and we're trying to figure out sort of for every feature in the entire system, is this a conformance thing or is it not? And as soon as I sort of picked up on the scent of that not being the same, we have to figure out if this is or is not eligible for conformance.
I mean, if this stuff needs to be passed down somehow from Kubelet to the network plugin, the APIs that we currently have are really not sufficient for doing that because historically Kubelet has handled all of the DNS and resolved
right.
stuff itself. So if we now consider it part of the network API, we're going to need to make some enhancements there.
Right, and we can't just say, well, let's make all DNS be part of CNI's problem, because CNI runs long before the file systems are created, right?
Well, and a lot of the CNI plugins aren't going to have anything to do with DNS.
Sure.
So you'd have to support both anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it could be the case that not to go too far into implementation details here, but we can create some capabilities that the Windows plugin could advertise, and then a CNI driver, like in Docker shim, could stuff in some of the DNS stuff as runtime capabilities or something like that. That would be one way to do it within the current framework. Otherwise, if there was a more formal way to do it. But also, does this stuff get passed down even through CRI at this point? And if so, how much of it?
Does which stuff? All the DNS did?
Yeah, any of the DNS configuration, what needs to go in resolve conf, what the DNS policy is.
Yeah, that's a good question. Minhan, do you know?
On top of my head, no. Looking up.
Minhan's digging around in the code right now, but
okay. So many questions in some.
Question.
Okay, yeah, that's helpful. And do you know what is the process of adding maintainers for the Windows CNI plugins?
At this point, You know, if you see patches, bugs, etc., you know, just file those in the CNI project for the Windows plugins, and we'll just keep going from there. You know, at this point, you know, you guys are probably the people who know it best, and so you're sort of the de facto maintainers of that code.
Okay, but we can't be added like as official maintainers for like approving or rejecting other proposed features, perhaps, or work built on top of that by the community.
Yeah, so there is a process sort of for that. I believe it's documented somewhat in the CNI docs,
Okay.
but it usually takes a little bit and some demonstration of, you know, being on top of the issues and, you know, doing PR reviews and things like that. So it's definitely possible. You know, just keep doing good stuff, and that hopefully will turn into maintainership at a official level. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it would be great if you, sorry, I'm still a bit new to this, but it would be great if you could show me where exactly that process is documented.
Sure.
So Minhan just found in the code that it looks like DNS is passed through CRI, so it is on the CRI side of that interface.
Okay, good. At least there's that.
Yes.
Ah, yeah. And is it in the contributing.md, perhaps?
Maybe
Sorry,
we can take.
who was that question for?
Sorry.
I'm gonna assume it was for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. I was just wondering.
Yeah,
where.
I'll try to find something.
Okay, thanks.
Cool. Any more on that topic? Nope. So I think we've got Francois next to talk about Core DNS.
Hello. I just wanted to warn that we are right at the release of 1.12, and unfortunately, we had a scalability memory issue with Core DNS, and we could not make up in time to have a fix. So everyone released, and scalability, they decided to keep kubedns as default when you deployed with kubeup. So the Core DNS as default is delayed for next release. It's more timeline issue because the scalability, I mean, these tests of Core DNS was, how do you say, was merged as default right at the freeze time, but the scalability tests were read until last week, end of last week. So nobody noticed this issue until last Thursday.
Yeah, so it's a really unfortunate situation. I appreciate everybody's digging into it and trying to figure out what was going on and coming up with the best, safest answer. I am pushing hard here on our work around an autoscaler for things like DNS, which is designed to be sort of low dependency for system components. Justin Santa Barbara and I had put together a prototype a couple of months or quarters ago, actually, and it sort of fell between the cracks. So we're going to try to get that back in play for the 1.13 timeframe. That doesn't mean you shouldn't go off and find the issue, because even
no. We start with the issue and understanding where the memory is coming from. Second, understanding what are the constraints, because we were also at the end finally not knowing some of the constraints about the memory,
right.
and ensure that we merge early all this change so we can have really the return of all the end-to-end tests early.
So my main point being, hopefully you guys find the real problem so you don't get stuck behind us in 1.13, but I'm reigniting the fire to make this a non-problem in the future. Because honestly, had we had a proper scaler, it would have been just tweak the numbers in the scaler and move on.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
So another thing I think we should look at, Francois, and I know Chris kind of brought this up, is that, you know, with kubedns now, it's scaled just proportional to the number of nodes.
Yes.
That's not really necessary with Core DNS in the same way that we could scale by, say, CPU utilization or something like that, since we kind of directly correlate with that. But the question then is, we don't know, we have no tests, no visibility into the actual mix of queries and the actual load in a real cluster, right?
Yes, well, we have one, but it's not in a real cluster. When we had a scalability test, we talked with the guy of scalability, and they did not want it to host a real scalability DNS because of the cost. And they keep the scalability for these two tests, what they call load and density, but these one are not exercising DNS, in fact. Right now we have a memory issue, but there's no query.
Right, so we don't know if we would need more, we would need more or fewer.
Exactly, we need also to add a real test, I think. So that's in our plan now to
Awesome.
work more on the scalability.
We'll have to look closely at what those
and
parameters are, though, because like we don't, what I'm wondering about, and maybe Tim, like, do we have any visibility in existing clusters of what, because we know that, for example, queries to external services will hit the NDOTS issue, whereas other things won't. And I mean, it's going to vary wildly based on the customer. So I guess maybe we just have to characterize the edges.
Yeah, I don't know if we could or want to add a anonymous statistics mode. Have Core DNS once a day phone home with some highly aggregated statistics just to tell us what you're doing with it, and totally make it opt-outable, or maybe even just make it opt-in.
Oh,
we talked about that like a year ago.
Yeah.
Yes, we talked.
Right. I mean, I don't know from a managed, like as putting on my other hat of the sort of managed product team, would it help make GKE easier to run if we knew this? Like maybe it's the sort of thing we could expose through GKE and at least get some stats. It might be worth having a conversation about. Otherwise, I don't know how you get stats except asking big customers to voluntarily give you information.
Right, but I think we could characterize that. Like we could say, okay, if we have, we can give us the QPS, but we can say what level of, what's the auto scaling proportion if we're doing 100% external queries, so basically fivefold, and what's if we're not having to do that, we're fully qualified with the closing dot on everything.
And to the assertion that you don't need to scale based on number of nodes, the idea behind scaling behind number of nodes was that nodes was just a reasonable proxy for how many services you're going to have, and that your memory, fundamentally, you're going to be bound by how many services and endpoints you're watching, because it's sit in your watch cache, right? So we use that as a poor man's proxy for number of services and endpoints. Maybe we can actually do better than that.
Right. Well, that's also just a proxy then for number of queries, really.
Sort of. I mean,
because for if you only query things once a day, one, no matter how many services.
Knowing full well, there's the resources, of course, come in multiple dimensions, right? And CPU and memory. Memory is always the one that's more persnickety because it's not elastic. And there's, if you run out of it, you run out of it. Whereas CPU, you just get slower. So we sort of focused everything around scaling, around how do you manage memory, but CPU is actually there too. And that's only a function of how many queries you're going to take, which you could use number of cores in your cluster as a proxy for that too. It seems a little less well correlated in my mind. But
okay,
again,
so let us work. We'll start for one. Well, right now we start 113. We wait the toe of the branch to go with the scalability. Everything is locked, so we're working out of. At least we learn how to make some scale tests without merging. You can still use the pre-submit.
Great. Good. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So that was the end of what we had on the agenda, but I was curious to know if people were interested in having kind of a step back discussion about what we want to try to tackle in 1.13, and maybe looking at some of the things we said we are going to tackle in the past couple of releases, and seeing where those are right now.
That's a great idea.
Nice. I will share my screen then. Hopefully the right one. So we have this spreadsheet. Hopefully everybody can see that. I'll make it a little bit bigger. And it looks like we didn't fill this out for 1.12. So the last one we have is 1.11, but I think it still makes sense to look through what we put there and kind of think about where we've gotten on each of these or haven't gotten. So we had marked IPv6 support as a P0 goal for 1.11, namely just setting up CI. Do we know, last I heard, we are still working on that?
Yeah, it's still in review. It's getting very close though. We have two reviewers that say it looks good, and that they're just waiting for the code freeze to thaw.
Okay.
So the first merge should go in, and then it might be a couple iterations of merges, but it's getting close.
Cool. That sounds promising. The main thing I'm interested in finding is if there is something we're not doing that we could be doing to help get that over the finish line.
Yeah, I suppose we could start pushing more aggressively for quicker reviews, but I think we're right near the tail end, so it's taking a while, but we're getting close.
So it sounds then for 1.13 that we should very easily have this goal of setup CI done.
Yeah,
that we probably want to, right. And my guess is there's another goal we should be trying to set to, in addition to that, for 1.13. Or would we be focusing on primarily the second thing here, which is dual stack?
Yes, dual stack.
So the fun thing with the dual stack is it has spawned quite a involved conversation around how to properly evolve API fields from singular into plural. For anybody who hasn't followed along in that conversation, it has dragged on for months as we're working on refining the guidance here. I feel like we're pretty close. I owe a doc for Daniel and Clayton and Brian and the other API reviewers, which I will be hopefully working on tomorrow if I get my way. So I think that's sort of the major blockage on that cap, right?
Yes, and there are a couple more things that we introduced recently, and one is keeping the service IPs to single family versus, and that was a proposal, and we think that makes sense. There are some trade-offs, but we think that makes sense, and also the endpoints, we had to make those dual stack, so that adds a little complexity and adds another API change. So I put out a SIG architecture review for that change as well.
All right, I think this is definitely a 1.13 goal to get it past the cap. Do you think, how are you in terms of implementation? Have you guys started implementation against the cap as it stands?
Yes, we've started some coding, and there were a couple of people in other organizations that volunteered. I haven't pinged them to see if they started, because somebody volunteered for the kuproxy change, and I forget what the other one was, but yeah, we've started in parallel with waiting for the cap. I mean, given the volume, I don't think we have a good chance of coding this up by 1.13, and 1.13 is a a tight sprint as well. So
Oh, that's true, because Q4 is short.
yeah, but we should be able to make a good dent in it.
Okay.
You can mark that as started, I think, the proposal.
Yes, good point.
That's fair. I think the KEP is pretty close to converging.
Yeah, pre-proposal
Yeah.
and then start coding, but not complete, most likely. Okay, that's good. I think it's still appropriate to mark these as 0. One of the things that I think we haven't done in the past is try to rally the troops around P0 issues. So maybe we can, this coming cycle, try to be a little bit more diligent about identifying where we can apply extra pressure to move these along. So Dane, I think that means shouting when you think you need help and be very aggressive with that.
Yeah. Sure enough.
Yeah, I think this is important. I think everybody wants it. Like, let's not be shy.
Yeah.
Next was?
Next was, proposing the future of ingress.
So Bowie's not here today, but I saw a doc come through my mailbox with exactly that. And I haven't read the doc yet, but it was his pre-draft before he sent it out. Probably shouldn't say that. We'll hopefully have something out real soon. So I think this is still a reasonable goal. I mean, it's unfortunate that it got punted by 2 releases, but there it is. I've got no real good excuse. I think we keep this one. Anybody disagrees?
Nope.
Okay.
So propose the future. Does that mean there's a cap, but there's a what is the
I would
deliverable?
I would hope the deliverable is an agreed upon cap. And knowing this topic, we'll see. Okay.
I'll just make that explicit. Delete extensions v1 beta 1 network policy.
So we can't delete right now. There's still a moratorium on actually deleting APIs until some of the other machinery is done. We can only leave it deprecated and let it rot.
Yep. Okay, so maybe this is just not an appropriate goal for now.
Yep.
Coordinates is default. We know we are pretty close to that. I'm
okay calling it done.
That's the target end of the
Oh, yeah, well.
we gotta fix this.
So we want this to be done at the end of 113. It's currently started, close to done. And the last thing we need to do is address scale.
Cool.
Yep.
IPVS is done, right? There's nothing left to do on IPVS except fix bugs.
Is it GA?
It's GA, and anybody who wants to use it can use it, and lots of people are, right?
I think so. I'll just drag that there for now. Pod Ready++. So I think we got alpha level.
It's already marked as beta.
Already beta?
Yeah, and there's a node conformance test running for Pod Ready++.
Nice. Beta in 112?
Yes.
Nice.
Is there anything meaningful we want to do in the next cycle, or are we just letting that
so
get
there's
some more?
kube cutover changes needs to go in. Otherwise, people can't tell, like, why is my pod not ready? So probably in 1.13, push in the kube cutover changes. Yep.
Cool. So that's all the stuff that we had said we were going to address in the past. It's a bunch of other candidates down here, and I'm sure there's some other things people are thinking about. Do we want to try and brainstorm some stuff? Yeah.
Can we talk about the first one?
Yeah, the topology aware routing of services. So I've been looking at that and how we can do topology. And so I guess I'd want to have an agreed upon cap by the end of 113. And hopefully more than that, but.
Yay. Everybody should be excited.
I'm excited. If it gets in, there's a lot of stuff I don't have to do that I'm doing right now.
I had you very much in mind, Ed.
It would make us so happy.
Cool. Windows, what's the state of Windows? It was marked as Windows Q proxy to beta. I don't know what the state of the Windows Q proxy support is. Anybody Windows?
Yeah, so I think it's actually, so I'm not exactly sure what the item is there. I haven't added it there, but so kubeproxy is scheduled to actually go not just beta, but I think GA, or is scheduled to be there at least with 1.13.
Okay.
So whether it's on track, that I guess that can be. I mean,
GA.
right now we're kind of determining that or getting that on passing conformance tests, and right now I think there's a couple of them failing, but they're not related to kubeproxy.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, yeah.
Would you do me a favor and let me know what parts of conformance you're running into with respect to Windows and networking? I'm, as part of the overall conformance stuff, I'm trying to figure out which bits of networking are correctly marked as conformance, which parts are incorrectly marked as conformance, and which parts are incorrectly not marked as conformance.
Okay. So have you seen the spreadsheet that's going around?
For Windows or for the conformance?
For Windows conformance tests on ACS?
No, I have not seen that one.
Okay.
Tim, is that something we should be calling out explicitly as a goal for this cycle?
Yes, I was saving that one for later, but yes, I think as part of the conformance effort, we should have our goal to be, I don't know what the deliverable is, confidence, full audit of conformance with respect to networking.
Full audit sounds so much more precise than confident.
More efficient.
I'm not sure what the result is. It's a sign off.
So I posted a spreadsheet, or the URL to that spreadsheet, and that should have a summary of all the failing or passing conformance tests.
Okay.
I think networking-wise, there's 3 of them failing, and some of them are based on DNS. So we're trying to address those as well.
Okay.
That's kind of.
So it sounds like there is some Windows Cube proxy work in progress already, but we are not entirely sure where it is.
Okay.
Maybe we should leave this off until we can find someone who's owning that.
I mean, David, are you owning that? Are you the owner of Windows networking in Kubernetes?
Yes, I'm the owner of Windows Container.
There's your volunteer, Casey.
Awesome.
Welcome aboard.
Awesome.
You know, we don't do a good enough job in the SIG of like saying hi to new people. Hi, everybody.
We say hi and then we assign you things.
That's expected. I guess
Nobody
I'm asking for
out.
things to be assigned. But yeah, so I guess how does that work? Am I just gonna start like dropping my email off somewhere, or like people will start emailing me, or how is all of this?
No, I mean,
tracked? How does ownership?
Ownership means you do the work, and you know, like there are owners files within the code base that you can put yourself into in the kubeproxy Windows submodules. You can put yourself in the reviewers of appropriate pieces where you think there's a significant amount of Windows-specific stuff. Or you can just hang out and be present and watch the bugs and the mailing lists and make sure that anything that says Windows gets either acknowledged or triaged or something.
Okay.
That's a huge start.
Okay, great. All right, I'll dig a little bit more through those.
Awesome.
Is there anyone I could reach out to perhaps to get like help on, just in case I miss something, or like what are all the different resources that should be on my radar that I should be looking out for? Like right now, it's mainly just GitHub issues that I'm tracking and the conformance failing.
Sure. If you want to drop me a note, you can. This is Tim, and I'm happy to sort of guide you through figuring out where all the bodies are buried.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course. What's next?
Multiple networks.
You might as well just remove that one since it's being addressed at this point in other ways. Maybe when there's something more concrete. And also that IPVS kube proxy to GA, that one is duplicate of, yeah.
Of this one.
Yep.
Which is done.
Awesome.
Deprecate KubeNet.
So this is Minhan. I spoke to Jing a little bit earlier. So I think, so he's handling it as part of the container D effort. So, so when the container D goes to alpha soon from like within the SIG node, they will be shipping with another non-KubeNet network plugin with it, which is based on P2P. So once that graduates to beta, I can't speak for him, but I think that can be backported to whatever the default of Kubernetes.
So then what's left in the removal of KubeNet is what? Figuring out if anybody else is still using it, formalizing the deprecation, and letting it sit for a few months?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Okay. So we think Jing owns that? I don't want to put this, he's not here. I don't want to put that on the sort of Q4 OKRs because I can think of other things that are more important, but maybe this is like a priority 2 or something.
Yeah, we can make it a priority 2. It's a good point. We've already got 7 items here. And
I wanted to throw out at least one more, which is DNS stuff. We've got Pavitra, who's also not here today. Where is everybody? She's working on a DNS proposal for how to make a lot of the problems that we're having with DNS, sort of the low-grade pain with DNS, better. So she's been talking to John and others about how to address some of those concerns. So I would like to say for 113, we have at the very least an approved KEP, if not an alpha of a better way of managing DNS. Still using core DNS, don't worry about it. So the last thing I just want to throw out is a general call for feedback. We, Google, are spending a lot of time trying to address things like DNS, which are sort of long-standing pain points, things that users struggle with and have for a long time but aren't exploding. I would like to encourage anybody who's got time to look at those sorts of issues. I don't think we have a good enough list of what those issues are. Maybe we do, and there's just not that many. But going through and getting rid of some of the low-grade friction that people experience, I think would be a really excellent use of time in 113, especially since it's a short cycle.
You mean it's the issues that are declared in Kubernetes/DNS?
Issues that are in Kubernetes DNS, or issues that are just declared against Kubernetes that people are experiencing around networking, whether that's ingress stuff, or whether that's service stuff, or whether that's endpoints, scalability. Like we've got long-standing bugs around reverse records that we need to figure out properly, and we've got issues around endpoints. When you set host name in a deployment, it does the wrong thing. And so we've got a lot of these sort of long-standing bugs that aren't killing anybody, but they hurt everybody a little bit.
Okay.
Plus the unregistered net device kernel bug.
That's a case. This is a great example. I don't know if anybody else is tracking that one, but there's a message from the kernel, unregistered net dev, something, and it seems to be the error that the kernel spits out in a million different corner cases of things going wrong, and it's back, and we're trying to figure out why. Those sorts of triage visibility. One of the things we're going to look at is, can we plumb better detection of network errors into things like node problem detectors so that we can get better signals about things going wrong. I'm happy to come up with a laundry list of things that I think are low to medium grade impact, but long-standing duration, if people have time that they want to spend on making things better and getting famous. Because fixing Kubernetes bugs makes you famous. Okay, well, this is a pretty good list.
Right.
Let's see if we get half of it on.
Yeah, we should revisit this several times throughout the cycle, and
Getting approved caps.
Let's well, that's true. That's fine. Let's put it on the agenda for like mid October, early to mid October. So it's a month from now, and check in on these. What do you think?
yeah, sounds good to me.
Coolio. Do we have anything else on the agenda today?
Nope.
Awesome. Last chance if anybody wants to bring something up.
All right, I think we're done then.
Class dismissed.
See y'all in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.